Shalom. Before going into this lesson, all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh. Bashim Yahushai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, in the name of His Son. In the ancient Hebrew, I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders at GMS that rule well, unto all you brothers in the four corners of the earth and sisters of the hopefully elect. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Okah Kodash Brakatham, to you all and your families. Much love and respect. The Israelites scattered in the four corners of the earth, who are known as today as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Indian, West Indians, so-called Amerindian. They are the Israelites according to the Bible. Now, I'm going to touch on this subject. Body is not a part of our custom, a part of the Israelites' custom. The Most High never give us a law whereby we celebrate our nativity day or our birthdays, so to speak. This is a custom of the heathen. Alright, I'll go through this history. I'll jump around and I'll get some scriptures to back this up. So without further ado, let me go into it. I'll start from, you see the website justthewa.org. Right, it says following is a list of quotes from writings on writers, ancient and modern, religious and secular, attesting to the pagan origins and nature of celebrating one's supposed day of birth. Of course, many contemporary secularized people will object and say that birthdays no longer have any religious significance, despite the fact that all the ancient pagan rituals are maintained and preserved in the modern celebrations. And that's true. Alright, let me get scripture to back that up. Alright, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. It said, "The thing that have been, it is that which shall be." And that's talking about the spirit and the behavior, the customs, alright, the things them that the people used to do back in the ancient time. They are doing it now again, alright, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. You see, back then people used to celebrate birthdays and so forth, and today they're doing the same thing again, you know, which just go back to Pharaoh, you know, to the Egyptians, which I would touch on in a few. It said, of course, many contemporary secularized people will object and say that birthdays no longer have any religious significance, despite the fact that all the ancient pagan rituals are maintained and preserved in modern celebrations. However, if you profess to be a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian, which a Jew represent Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, alright, which are the so-called Negroes, the West Indians, and the people over there in Haiti, alright, and the true Christians were them, alright. They are the true Christians. Now war, you know, is, you see, they are the true Christians. You should not be doing this, especially after you become aware that the word secular has the same definition as arja, separating beliefs from actions. You know what, let me jump down. Yeah, it said originally the idea of birthday greetings and wishes for happiness was rooted in magic. The working of spells for good and evil is the chief usage of witchcraft, And you know what the scriptures say about witchcraft. Let me get some precept on that. Right? Get some scripture on that. This is Exodus 22:18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Alright, a witch supposed to be put to death. Alright, Deuteronomy 18 verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. You see, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy power doeth drive them out from before thee. Who? The all inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites. Alright? The Canaanites, the Most High take them out of the land. Alright? Because they were the ones celebrating these and worshipping the stars and the moon and so forth. Alright, so because of this wickedness, the Lord destroy them and take them out of the land. Now let me go to 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he have also rejected thee from being king. Alright, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. That's it on that. Let me continue. It said originally the idea of bodies, already touched on that. It said one is especially susceptible to such spells on his body, as one's personal spirits are about at that time. You see, they in that, what they do is they conjure up spirits, in ancient times. All right, dreams dreamed on the birthday Eve should be remembered, for they are predictions of future birth by the guardian spirits which hover over one's bed on the birthday Eve. You see, this is witchcraft to the fullest. Let me touch on concerning dreams. The scriptures say in the last days the Most High will give pour out His Spirit upon all flesh, and they will dream dreams and get visions. Roughly paraphrase it. But if those dreams and those visions in line with the scripture, all right, is vain. Alright, this is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha 34 verse 1. The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. Whosoever regard dreams is like him that catcheth at a shadow, and followeth after the wind. The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? Divinations and soothsayings and dreams are vain, and the heart fancieth as a woman's heart in travail. You see, so you shouldn't worried about dreams and so forth. Because dreams that in concord with the scripture is false. It's gonna go on to tell you, if they be not sent from the Most High in thy visitation, set not thy heart upon them. And how you know that they are sent from the Most High? If you filter it through the scripture, that's how you know. For dreams have deceived many, and they have failed that put their trust in them. And that's true. Alright. Verse 8. The law shall be found perfect without lies, and wisdom is perfection to a faithful mouth. Alright. So let me jump back. It say dreams dreamed on the birthday eve should be remembered, for they are predictions of the future brought by the guardian spirits which hover over one's bed on the birthday eve. Birthday greetings have power for good or ill because one is closer to the spirit world on this day. On the left hand side, right? On the left hand side, meaning the Most High used the left hand spirits as the adversary to righteousness. You know, all right. It say birthday greetings have power for good or ill because one is closer to the spirit world on this day. Good wishes bring good fortune, but the reverse is also true. So one should avoid enemies on one's birthday and be surrounded only by well wishes. Happy birthday and many more happy returns of the day are the traditional greetings. Jump down. The giving of birthday gifts is a custom associated with the offering of sacrifices to pagan gods on their birthdays. You see? Certainly, the custom was linked with the same superstition that formed the background for birthday greetings. The exchange of presents is associated with the importance of ingratiating. I don't know if I pronounced that word right, but what I would do, I would look it up, you know, because I don't know it. Alright. Say intended or adapted in order to gain favor, flattering, capable of winning favor, pleasing and in, you know what? Let me look for that woman that has pronounced this. Pronounce these words. Give me a quick sec. Let me see.
Ingratiate. Etymology. First attested in
Ingratiate. To bring oneself into favor with someone by flattering or trying to please him or her. You see? To recommend, to render easy to or agreeable. Let me jump back. The exchange of presents is associated with the importance of ingratiating good and evil fairies on the or our birthdays. You see? Seducing spirits. Alright, the scripture talk about a gift blind the eyes of the wise. You know? And they bring gifts on your body to flatter you. Alright? You see how deep this is tied into witchcraft? The traditional body cake and candle also have their origin in ancient pagan idol worship. The ancients believed that the fire of candles had magical properties. They offered prayers and made wishes to be carried to the gods on the flames of the candles. Thus, we still have the widely practiced birthday custom of making a wish then blowing out the candles. The Greeks celebrate the birthday of their moon goddess Artemis with cakes adorned with light candles. Jump down. The Egyptians discovered to which of the gods each month and day is sacred, and found out from the day of a man's birth what he will meet with in the course of his life, and how he will end his days, and what sort of man he will be. Since it was believed that the positions of the stars at the time of birth influence a child's future, astrological horoscope came into being, purporting to foretell the future and based on the time of birth. You see, they worship the stars and so forth, you know, and we read the scripture on that, right? I'll get a next precept on that in a few. Birthdays are intimately linked with the stars, since without a calendar, no one could tell when to celebrate his birthday. They are also in debt to the stars in another way, for in early days, the chief importance of birthday records was to enable the astrologers to chart horoscope. Alright, let me see what else. Right, it said Greeks believed that everyone had a protective spirit or demon who attended his birth and watched over him in life. The spirit had a mythic relations with the god on whose birthday the individual was born. You see, it say Allah, which is the name of the Muslim god. Apostle, may Allah peace and blessing be on him, said, "There is none amongst you with whom is not an attachee from amongst the jinn, devil." Right? Let me jump down. It said the Romans also subscribed to this idea. This notion was carried down in human belief and is reflected in the guardian angel, the fairy godmother, and the patron saint. Right? The custom of light candles on the cake started with the Greeks. You know, they were Edomites. Alright. Honey cakes, round as the moon and lit with tampers, were placed on the temple altar of Artemis, which is an idol goddess, right? Birthday candles invoke in folk belief are endowed with special magic for granting wishes. Lighted tapers and sacrificial fires have had a special mythic significance ever since man first set up altars to his gods. The birthday candles are thus an honor and tribute to the birthday child and bring good fortune. That's what they think. Thus, birthdays had their origin in mythology and magic, with horoscoping also playing a role. Nay, indeed, the Lord does not permit us to make festival at the birth of our children and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess. And this is what Josephus said. It tell you Josephus translated by Winston Winston against a Peon, Book 2, Chapter 26, extract from Josephus' complete works. And Josephus was an Israelite. Alright. He was a historian in the time of the Roman Empire. A scribe. He recorded the issue on the Israelites. Right? It said, "Nay, indeed, the Lord does not permit us to make festival at the board of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess." You know, the most the scripture teaches to drink with temperance, not to be a drunkard. All right. In the essay title board, a Jewishly Lisa, you know, that's all I will read on this. I'll put this in the description box. Let me get the scripture. And that's what Josephus said is on point. You know, let me get Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 1. Right? Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. And that's the people that Yahweh Bashmiasha is dealing with. This Bible is only for them, the Israelites. Thus said the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them. And bodies is one of the way of the heathen. Alright? Body is one of the ways of the heathen. Genesis chapter 40 and verse 20. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. You see? Now, when you go to Matthew 14, Herod actually beheaded, John the Baptist on this day, which is a great prophet in Israel, on his birthday celebration, Matthew 14 and 1. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yahushai, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist, he is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show for themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, because he caught them. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. You see? And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake. And them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. You see, this is a custom of the heathen. Luke chapter 2:41. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And this is talking about Yahushai parents. Alright. And when he was Joseph and Mary, and when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. You see, when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. Alright. They went and celebrate his birthday. Okay. And when they had fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Yahushua tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew not of it. So that's the point. You see, when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. Let me get one more precept, and that will be the end of the lesson. Lord's will. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 31. It say, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. And the oppressor is Esau, Edom. Alright. And all these other heathen nations. Choose none of his ways. Border is not a part of our custom. You know. Let me read back this quote from Josephus. Nay, indeed, the Lord does not permit us to make festivals at the birth of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess. Alright. Now let me end the lesson with this short clip.
Once upon a time in a land called Babel, there was a king named Nimrod. He was married to his queen, Semiramis. You may remember the city of Babel from the Bible, where the people of Babel tried to build the highest tower in the world, one that would reach the heavens. This made God angry, and so he punished them. If you remember this story, then now you know Nimrod was the king of that city. But Nimrod eventually died, leaving behind his wife. That meant there was room for a new king, and Semiramis wouldn't be queen anymore. But to save her spot as queen, she told everyone that when Nimrod died, he went up to the sun and became the sun god himself. She even told them that the sun rays impregnated her with Nimrod's baby. The people of Babel were amazed, and so they worshipped the sun, believing it really was Nimrod in god form. But in the winter, the nights are longer and the days shorter. So to the people of Babel, this meant that their god was getting weaker and weaker until the shortest day of sunlight, when they believed he died. Then when the sun would come out the next day, they believed that he was reborn, because daylight hours would begin growing longer. So they believed this was Nimrod's birthday, and every year they celebrated his birth. This was the first birthday in all of the world's history. After Babel, the next great kingdom to celebrate birthdays was Egypt. Back when the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, the Egyptians would celebrate the birth of their king, the Pharaoh. When God saved the Israelites from Egyptian slavery, he told us to never do what the Egyptians do. Next, the Persians, like the people of Babel, started celebrating the birth of their sun god, Mithras, on December 25th. Next, the Persians, like the people of Babel, started celebrating the birth of their sun god, Mithras. The Israelites from Egyptian slavery, he told us to never do...
Let me read that scripture real quick. Do not do as the Egyptians do. And do not follow their practices. Leviticus 18:3.
What the Egyptians do. Next, the Persians, like the people of Babel, started celebrating the birth of their sun god, Mithras, on December 25th. Years later, wicked Christians who wanted to join in on the fun started celebrating the birth of Christ on December 25th as well. But before that would ever happen, the Greeks adopted birthday celebrations, and they added a new iconic twist: birthday cakes. Greeks were the first to celebrate birthdays for regular people, themselves, family, and friends. But because the Greeks prayed to the god of the moon, Artemis, they would make circle-shaped cakes in the shape of the moon, and they would decorate their cake with candles, say a prayer to Artemis, and blow the candles out. They believed that the smoke from their birthday candles would carry the wish all the way to the moon, and that Artemis would grant their wish. Finally, before becoming worldwide, birthdays made their way into Roman culture. When the Romans were the most powerful culture in the world, they made Herod king of Israel. King Herod, who tried to murder Christ, the Messiah, and the Pharaoh, who refused to free the Lord's people from slavery in Egypt, are the only two people...
And they show you that the Israelites with dark skin in this clip. You see? That's what they're showing you here.
People in the entire Bible who celebrated birthdays. So why don't we celebrate birthdays? 1, because it's linked to worship of false gods. And 2, because we don't want to be like the Egyptians or other Gentiles. So, if you love God and want to keep the commandments, birthdays only have one place in your life: the trash.
That's right. You know, so with that, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders that rule well. And much respect for your brothers in the four corners of the world. This is Shalom.